I suppose I could talk a bit more about how to structure your studying over the next couple of months if you're going for the June or July LSATs or beyond. The June LSAT, you have only about a month left at this point, a little more. So I'd say actually exactly a month. Now that I think about it, time flies, huh? So you have a month left. You really do want to focus on taking maybe one full-length timed exam per week. And hopefully you've been taking a couple of full-length timed exams already so that you've built your pacing and endurance. Because there are three phases of LSAT prep: accuracy, untimed, building the foundation first, then pacing with individual timed sections, and finally endurance with full-length timed exams. So those taking in June at this point, you want to focus more on the pacing and endurance, and hopefully you have a good foundation. On the other hand, if you're going for July, you want to prep for either paper or digital formats because you don't know what you're going to get. And given that you have closer to a month and a half for the July LSAT, you will also have some more time to work on your weak areas and detailed review, in addition to the full-length timed exams. Those of you going for the fall, you have closer to an ideal study timeline because you have really, at this point, 4 to 5 months or longer. And so those of you with that timeline, you can focus first on accuracy, working untimed, doing questions by type. The study schedules I referenced earlier are really useful for this to work through, let's say, logic games by type, then logical reasoning by type, then reading comprehension, then full-length timed exams. And so for the games, you do them untimed by type, easy ordering games, moderate difficulty ordering games, then the hardest ordering games, then easy grouping, moderate grouping, difficult grouping, and so on. Then logical reasoning by type, necessary assumption flaw, strengthen, weaken, etc., while staying fresh on games. Then add reading comprehension into the mix. Then after that, you start doing your full-length timed exams along with individual timed sections for pacing, and you work on your weak areas as you identify them, and also engage in excruciatingly detailed review of any question you got wrong or anything you were unsure of or you guessed where you were down to, like, let's say down to 250-50, and you got lucky, but maybe you still had some trouble with it, and it very easily could have gone the other way next time around. So for that reason, you want to review everything that gives you trouble and articulate it. Was it in the stimulus for logical reasoning? Was it misunderstanding the question stem? Or was it in the answer choices? If it was the stimulus, you want to see, was it identifying the evidence or the conclusion, or maybe the method of reasoning was confusing? Was it a confusingly worded question stem? Or was it in the answer choices? If it was in the answer choices, you want to see what was tempting about the wrong answer choice that made you pick it or consider it, and what ultimately made it wrong. And what was discouraging about the right answer choice that pushed you away from it, and what ultimately made it correct. You want to do this again and again and again, not necessarily for every question that you ever have difficulty with, because that might be too many to go through, but definitely the hardest ones. And I would say, honestly, you're better off spending more time reviewing what gives you trouble than just blasting through more and more exams and more questions to measure your results. I know it's really kind of addictive in a way to take exams and then see how you did, and especially to check them section after section or question by question rather than waiting until you've completed the exam. But the real value in doing LSAT problems is not simply to see what your scores are. It's nice to know, of course, but the real value is in learning from your mistakes and figuring out what gives you trouble and why, so that you can avoid making those same mistakes in the future. Because of course, the LSAT does repeat itself time after time, again and again. And so you could prep with nothing more than just 10 or so exams ever. Those 10 exams alone would be enough if you review them in sufficient detail. And of course, I do think it's worth taking more than 10 exams over time, maybe doing 10 untimed to build your foundation, and then another 10 as full-length timed exams, and then maybe in between those, another 5 or 10 as individual timed sections to deal with the pacing aspect of your prep. But 10 alone could be enough. 15 or 20 alone could be enough. Those of you going for the LSAT in the fall, I'd say you want to focus your prep on exams 62 to present, which is the books of 10, 62 through 71, 72 through 81, and then 82 through 87 as full-length timed exams. That is a great way to prep. You can get most of those exams in books of 10 on Amazon.com for about $20 each. Those of you who will be taking the digital LSATs, on LSAT site I showed you, there's a couple of exams published there already. They'll be adding more in the lead up to the fall. And if you have access to the PDFs, it's great to practice with the PDFs on the screen and do your work on scrap paper on the side.